Sup, hombres? Got a pretty research-heavy project in the works, so I figured I'd throw this out to tide you over. The animated feature film is something I feel people are overlooking these days. If you live in an English-speaking country, you probably wonder why there aren't any more animated movies, and I'll be the first to admit that finding some isn't the most straightforward process. So consider me your personal animated feature curator. I'm going to show you 3 different movies from 3 different countries, 3 different tones, and 3 different styles. All are excellent, and I'm pretty sure they're movies you might not have seen before. First up is Long Way North by French director Rémi Chaillet. Sasha is the grandson of an Arctic explorer in the old Russian Empire. After her grandfather's ship is lost at sea, looking for his dream of being the first man at the North Pole, she takes it upon herself to recover the ship and carry on his legacy. If I had to use a single word to describe this film, it would be grounded. It's one of the least cartoony cartoons I've seen in quite some time. It's a period piece, which I think might be a turnoff for some people. I'm not super familiar with the Russian Empire circa like 1800. But what's here is something that I'm definitely familiar with and quite fond of. Good cartoons. On the surface, the movie's mostly flat coloring might betray its attention to realism, but it's the details in the presentation, the cinematography, where the movie shines more than almost any other animated film I've ever seen. The color grading, camera movement, shot composition, all of these were used to make the movie feel grounded and give depth to it in a visual sense. For example, there's not a lot of large, sweeping, dynamic camera movements in this movie, and that's not a bad thing. This gives it a sense of grit and realism, like it's a documentary almost. But the thing it focuses on the most is expressions. Even during super intense action scenes, people's faces always seem to occupy more of the frame than you might imagine or expect. And obviously, from a purely aesthetic standpoint, this is just a really nice looking movie. The use of light, the blocky colors, the gentle bumps along the edges of lines, which unfortunately YouTube will not be able to convey to you properly. It's all real nice on the eyes, at least to me. The tones used are definitely earthy, even though you might think this art style would be better served in a more pastel and vibrant look, but it works way better than I thought. Plus, anytime it actually does show a more flowery palette during certain scenes, it really does pop visually. In other words, this is a really pretty movie and the visuals add to the story. The main character Sasha's arc is a familiar one of a wealthy aristocratic girl learning the value of hard work and struggle, but it's told creatively and honestly just soundly. The first act of the movie, where you're actually in St. Petersburg, I feel did drag a little bit, but once she skips town, it's all smooth sailing from there. Overall, it's a pretty fascinating story about not quite the meaning of life, but what can give meaning to a life, if that makes any sense. What drives a person, what fuels them to do what they want to do, despite what the world may tell them. And I don't just mean society, I mean the cruelty of this planet we live on too. Mother Nature is not nice sometimes. In any case, if you're into good, mature animation, as in something not just aggressively violent or gratuitous, but actually treats you like a human being in a well-made and beautiful film, give this one a look.
À la prochaine expédition, tu m'accompagneras. Je te le promets.
Attention devant. Ah!
Second up is Boy in the World by Brazilian director Ale Abreu. I'm definitely butchering that. Boy in the World is this boy, Cuca, in his wonderful abstract world in the countryside. One day, he sees his father leaving on a strange giant metal snake. So he goes off on his own to try to get his dad to come back. Initially, I thought this would be a more abstract film about humanity and deal with themes that are less day-to-day and more embedded into each person on a, deep level. However, to my surprise, the world in this film's title is very much our world. This is a film with a lot of societal commentary that I really don't want to give away here. It's got a very powerful message and a lot to say, even if you only know the bare minimum about Brazil and its various socio-economic and systemic problems. The first thing that you'll notice though, and what I noticed, is the art direction. The movie goes for a crayon on white paper aesthetic and it fits the film perfectly. It's all about how a child sees the world, how they interpret the things around them. The reason why the familiar fauna of Cuca's home is warm and drawn with crayon is the same reason why the train looked so out of place. Now, I will admit that on a technical level, this film is not quite the best animated of the 3 that I'm going to recommend. It's not exactly Disney levels, yes, but that doesn't mean it doesn't still achieve everything it's going for, visually. The movie's use of flat angles and 2D shapes makes every frame instantly readable. This allows for larger scenes with more going on to have a lot of nice, overlapping action without it getting hard to understand what's going on. Even so, there are a lot of very striking images and some really nice cuts too. I think it looks nice, but I admit the art style is probably going to be a hurdle for some people. Not everyone, but for those people I'd say, deal with it. The music, however, is something that you should have no trouble getting past. Since the film has no intelligible dialogue, the audio obviously has some slack to pick up, and it picks it up marvelously. There are so many incredible montages in this movie, and notably, excellent use of a recurring music, some where you might expect it, some where you won't. Music is generally an important theme in the movie, and it comes up a lot. It's just a generally important thing in Brazilian culture, as you're probably aware, so make sure you've got good headphones or speakers and play it loud, as the kids said. The soundscapes really sell a lot of scenes, and you'll be glad you did it. So, if you're looking for something a little abstract, a little simplistic, but not simple, but still extremely rich thematically, you're really doing yourself a disservice by not checking it out. Please, Boy in the World. Last up is Bird Boy, The Forgotten Children by Spanish directors Alberto Vázquez and Pedro Rivero. Three young friends are looking for a way off of their decaying island town, embroiled in tragedy and violence, while an outcast named Bird Boy is simply trying to contain the demons within. First and foremost, Bird Boy is a noir film, true, uncut, black tar noir. It's got all the boxes checked: oppressive atmosphere, living in the ruins of a once great civilization, trying to hold on to your humanity in an uncaring world, a sad protagonist with a dame to pine for, whatever you need, it's got it. As a big fan of noir films, Bird Boy already had me won over purely on an aesthetic level. It didn't need to be smart, creative, well thought out look into how people dehumanize themselves and others, but it was. And how about those aesthetics, huh? Not only is the film drenched in the cold atmosphere of noir, as you see the corpse of a place that has long since forgotten what peace and coexistence meant, but the animation on display is extremely technically impressive. This movie goes to some very dark places and deals with some very upsetting themes, and the visuals, on one hand, keep the experience from becoming too unpalatable, and on the other hand, express these ideas in more abstract and creative ways. Watching visual metaphors unfold in this lavishly beautiful visual style with such striking colors. Color isn't just used to set a mood or atmosphere in this film, it's an integral part of the storytelling. Reds, greens, yellows, blacks, all of these visual abstractions are made to tell you the story, visually. Who doesn't love a good visual storytelling, Now, the actual story that's being serviced by all these incredible sights is not one that is necessarily so beautiful. The other films I've recommended today are definitely ones you can show to anyone, but this is absolutely something you should watch when the kids are asleep. One of the most important tenets of film noir is dedication to tone. It can't be cartoonish, it just needs to be. You're showing a story that's going to have ugly people in an ugly world, and those things need to be portrayed unflinchingly. Mental illness, substance abuse, intense violence, and the things in society that force people into those things are as ugly in this movie as they are in reality. Despite the round heads and big eyes of the characters, there's nothing cute or comforting going on here. But nonetheless, ugliness is worth exploring, and paradoxically, it can be explored in a beautiful way, because you can't really understand what's ugly without seeing what's beautiful too. I'm pretty sure that's what the visuals were going for anyway. In the end, if you're looking for a really nice looking, interesting movie, or you're just a sucker for brooding men in a dour world like I am, you're missing out by not giving this a look. Bird Boy, The Forgotten Children. Alright, your homework is watching all these movies and telling me what you think, okay? More stuff to be posted to this channel, so subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and also thank you to my patrons, AssBlaster69, Megan Omerta, and Mighty Joe. If you'd like to be on here, just throw me a buck. Alright, peace out. Enjoy Pack Steps.